Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Today, of course, we are putting a full stop on the Sporting Press online edition, Irish Oaks. We had an incredible final at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Sadly, I wasn't there. My main man, Barry Call, was on hand. Another man that was there was Declan O'Donoghue. Declan, you're very welcome
Hello.
indeed. Of
Hello,
course,
thank
we're
you.
also joined by the exile dub, as always, Tommy Lyons from his Yall base, who was thoroughly enjoying the racing all weekend. But Declan, we got to start with you. The Oaks never fails to deliver, does it?
Incredible final. I was just saying it's one of those which we sometimes get where there's a very worthy winner and a very unlucky loser. And that really was it. If either of them had won, you couldn't argue. And Droopy's next one on the cracker in third as well, Brilliant win. It's a lovely story behind it as well. So, podium story as well, of course, but it's just fairy tale stuff. A brilliant competition and a tremendous finish. You couldn't really ask for more. Phenomenal race and fair dues to Barry. I know he's not as experienced as you are at the commentating, and how he called the winner, I don't know, because it was just, we thought three had won, but to call it that confidently, as you know yourself, Ian, isn't easy. It's not easy.
That's years of experience at Shelbourne Park, Declan. We know, I know.
Yes,
if you're on the outside, you're a half length up. That's the way it is.
Definitely.
And it was actually a half length. I was surprised to see it was a half
length. So was I. Yeah, but I should say the one on this side is favourite. So that probably explains the half length. If someone asked you, you'd have said ahead, probably. You know what I mean? But there you go. Yeah.
Tommy, it was a great competition. It deserved a final that sort of lived up to the billing, and it certainly did that. The market suggested that Scooby Duchess was the one to beat with Raha Mofo, Droopy's next one. Then came Ballymacart, the two outsiders, and they went in market order into the opening corner. The bookmakers have it 100% correct, is what you're looking at into the opening bend, but you always got the sense watching it live that she was going to put in a charge late, Raha Mofo. It was a case of whether she got there or not. If I told you that Scooby Duchess was going to run as a good final bend as she did, I thought that might have just put the seal on it. But Raha Mofo, she also ran an incredible run, an incredible last bend in second. Often when you're in second and you have a dog in front, you switch off wide. She didn't. She stayed tight enough and she lost no ground.
And it was a fabulous final for many reasons. What makes a great final is when more than one dog or bitch runs to form and gives it everything. Scooby Duchess did that. Droopy's next one did that. She got slightly held up at the second bend as well as the third bend, and actually might have been the unlucky loser in the competition. To be honest about it, if I had to say, if
Raha Mofo's not there, she either narrowly wins it or she's not. She's only just beaten.
That's a good point, and saying if Raha Mofo is not there is important, because if she's not there in the race, take her out of the race completely. I think Droopy's next one wins, because I think she was showing pace out of the second bend that would have tightened her up to Scooby Duchess, and the way she finished as well after getting done again the third bend, or held up slightly, not done is wrong, getting held up at the third bend. But the key, what you're saying about if Raha Mofo wasn't there, Raha Mofo was there because Raha Mofo has brought in early pace to a repertoire, and it's not Scooby Duchess early pace, but it's enough early pace to be able to turn close. And we talked about this, and I think we kind of predicted it last week that she would turn close. I thought she might turn third, maybe a share second, maybe third, along with Ballymacart, who just happened to miss the kick the other night. Ballymacart. So when Ballymacart missed it and Raha Mofo was able to turn second, the writing was on the wall, because she's phenomenal. Now, Droopy's next one showed us every bit as much finishing pace as Raha Mofo did. But Raha Mofo had brought in that little bit of early pace, which she needed to prove. After the first round, you were raving about her rightly, the pace she had shown that day, rightly talking about her. That I think I always try and look at them a bit differently, because there's going to be an overreaction in prices when a bitch shows that sort of pace or a dog shows that sort of pace. There's going to be an overreaction in the price. So you try to find a negative and say,
or in this instance, the absolute perfect reaction.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're going to react to it immediately, and unless she's proved that she has that bit of early pace that can keep her. Like if she came away in the final like she did in the first round, she wouldn't have won it. Do you know what I mean? So it's over the subsequent rounds. You have to remember, she was coming out of A5. She was coming out of A5 in her last run before the Oaks. So you're talking about, like, she's the one that has to prove it to you, me, and everybody else. And she did. And that's the beauty of the competition, because the quality of it. You had established bitches who were really, really, really good, really top class. and she came from A5 company to build her way through the and then produce a thrilling finish like she did in the final. Like it capped a brilliant competition, I have to say.
It did indeed. Declan, Tommy's suggesting there the early speed of Raha Mofo. Certainly, she sharpened up rather than the early speed. If you look when she first came back to Shelbourne Park, let's say when she was running an A4, A5, she did a 2:36. She's beaten in A4. 2:16, she wins an A5. 2:16, she wins an A5. It was actually a 2:10 she did in the opening round of the Oaks. It was just that race was probably packed with early speed. She found herself fifth. Remember, she was actually prominent in the corner. She did a little wobble on the bend, found herself in behind runners before storming home. Then she did 2:16, 2:15. She did 2:08 in the semi-finals. We said last week she needs to repeat that. Well, she basically did. She did a 2:09. And Declan, that's the difference between winning on the big stage and losing on the big stage.
There are a number of issues there. I think first of all, when she comes straight up from A5, she had a fast time, but there was just faster greyhounds around her. Huge, it was a whole new experience for her. She's learning on the hoof as well. Certainly, the way she came out, she had every chance on Saturday. One broke brilliantly. Three, they were drawn ideally to two of those. Drewby's next one was not well drawn. You know what I mean? So I think that played a part in it. They came away. I think it's okay to say ones were unlucky the second and third bend, and I get that point, but you've also got to credit the leader. The leader was in front.
The leader's only a length. The leader's only a length in front going into the opening corner. She comes out at second bend 3 in front. She ran an unbelievable first two bends.
That's right. I'm just making a general point. We always look for unlucky losers, but the one that's in front, that's a skill in itself. You know what I mean? And on another night, she would have won it. But the winner is a fantastic greyhound. The three of them are exceptional. I always look forward to Derby the minute the Oaks is over, pretty after last year. And I would say Raha Mofo and Drewby's next one. We know seasonal breaks and things can come into these things, and they may not be entered for it, but certainly they're entitled to run in the Derby. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they're improving. They are still improving. That's always a good thing to have on your side as well.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And being behind Ballymac, as you say, missed the kick, and then the two outsiders, it just didn't happen for them, Tommy. They were always in the back foot.
Yeah, look, they were well. Tullivan Vita wasn't badly drawn, but just missed it completely. Ballymac Miranda had a tough draw because Raha Mofo comes out and moves off a little bit, and it kind of always felt. We talked about it last week. It felt like the top three bitches were going to dominate early. When Ballymac didn't, it just left it to be a two bitch race. Drewby's next one ran a superb race, but she was always playing catch up. And Declan's right what he says about there's an art in getting out in front and all that, but we kind of knew what would happen there in the sense that Scooby Duchess, you could set your clock by her almost. Yeah, every dog and every bitch is entitled to a slip here and there and a miss kick. But like she had a beautiful draw. She breaks from trap one every time. She shows the pace up. She tracks exceptionally well, and even that alone is going to win you a lot of races because you're going to force dogs or bitches to produce something perfect to catch you. And literally, she gave away nothing in the entire race. Nothing. Yeah. She ran as well as she could have on the night. Mm-hmm. And I'm not to say that she won't go and break 28 seconds. Some night she probably will, to be honest. But I'm saying on the night, she ran as perfect a race as she possibly could and just came up against a bitch in rare form.
Declan, I'd say you could count on one hand the amount of times a dog or a bitch has done 28-17 off the front and got picked up. Shelbourne Park. Of
course, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the first two, the third didn't get to run the race in fairness to her, but the first two both ran out of the skins. You know what I mean? And it's just on the nod, on the line. I mean, Scooby led everywhere but the line. So that's what you got to. But credit the winner, superb performance. I think once the winner came out second, as you said, once she's in the hunt from early, then there was always going to be a very tight finish. Even I actually thought watching it live, I thought Scooby was even 4 in front at the third bend, but I still thought it was still an open race. I mean, we knew Raha Mofo was going to come home, and Drewby's next one was very much on the premises as well, though she did lose a tiny bit of ground at that third bend, which in a final, if you lose ground at all, it's generally a good night.
At what point do we stop talking about the season dates with Scooby Duchess? Obviously, she's probably about 14, 15 weeks the other evening. Like, there's every chance she might just improve that another length or two in the coming weeks. But, obviously, it wasn't the case on Saturday night. But where do you go with her? Like, do they take the chance to step her up to 550 yards for the likes of the Derby, Champion Stakes, something like that? Or do they try and keep her in bitch company?
It's worth taking a chance. Interestingly, Owen said last year, he made a very interesting point to me. He said he thinks early paces actually in Shelbourne, the 550 suits them better because they're actually more in control. Come the first bend, they really have asserted, and they're that extra length or two in front going around that first bend.
Yeah.
And but she has been, even in the semi-final, she was caught. I thought she didn't finish out in the semi-final like you might have expected her to. So
yeah, she has.
Worth,
if you go back to last October, she has a 28-10 in her card, which is obviously her career best, but she was still very much a youngster at that point. And, while the track has been absolutely flying in Shelbourne Park, she still hasn't repeated that 28-10. So the suggestion is that there's probably is better to come from her. I never thought last year, looking at her, that she wouldn't get 550 yards. I always thought in her youth that she would stay to 550. So maybe she's still coming forward.
Perhaps. And she was beaten by an exceptional winner as well, so it's worth taking a chance of finding out for sure, of course.
Yeah. Now she is trained by Mert Lahey, Raha Mofo. Obviously, Mert has, I wrote in the report, he's become one of the go-to men in Irish greyhound racing. Certainly, if you have a good one, you'd seriously consider Mert and his village kennel outfit, his wife Deirdre, his daughters, Stevie Dunn, they're all heavily involved. It's a great operation. Marissa Malloy said to me, she said that was a reason we sent Raha there, because it's just a real family feel about the place. We're delighted with everything there, and the proof is there that she's now an Oaks winner. She's a classic winner. You suggested perhaps the Derby with her. She is a September 20, is worth pointing out. She will qualify for the Juvenile Derby, and Mert has gone down that route before with the bitches.
Think of last year's Derby winner. What age was she? I mean, these dogs don't come along too often. It's obviously it's a temptation. It's a temptation. You don't know if she's going to come in season or whatever. But she will get 550 easily.
And further, like she'd get 575, 600.
She'll be actually better at 550 than 525. And Droopy's next one is very much in that argument as well. They're certainly entitled. There's only one Derby. And they're entitled to go for it. The Puppy Derby is a strange competition sometimes, and sometimes when you look back on Puppy Derbies for years and years, Puppy Derby winners didn't do an awful lot afterwards, and often dogs were beaten in the early round. Puppy Derbies went on to great things. So it's always, but last year's winner had to go for Derby, and she did. But this one is even more a 550 one. I would have thought. So why not? Why not?
Get that impression. Tommy, Raha Mofo, what was your train of thought be? Where would you be going with her?
I definitely give her a tilt at Derby, but it's going to be different now. It's going to be different. You're going to, instead of, in a Derby quality, depth of quality in a Derby, she's not going to turn second, a lot of the time. So it is going to be more difficult, but then she might improve. She might strengthen up. She might be a better bitch as the year goes on. Same with Droopy's next one. Scooby Duchess, like Declan says, you have to give her a chance, and if it doesn't work out, you don't lose a lot. Now I think connections are smart enough. They're smart enough to know that they'll figure out fairly quickly how much a 550 would take out of a bitch like her. Mm-hmm. Whether they try her over beforehand and just see does it knock a bit too much out of her maybe, or what. You learn very quickly with a bitch like that, if that's something you want to risk. I know obviously it's going to be 6 nights of 550 if you get as far as the Derby final. If you're fortunate enough to get that far, it's quite demanding. I think you probably need something a bit stronger maybe. I'm not sure that I wouldn't be looking at Scooby Dutch at the moment as going to win a Derby. But it'd be hard not to say that if I've got a bitch, and Declan's right about the 550, I always think that it does allow you just get a bit more comfortable on the front end if you have exceptional early pace. Now, we did see as well, I think, during the Oaks, and again, they can improve. We did see that when she was drawn away from the fence a bit, it was just a little bit trickier as well. The semi-final is probably a great example. She showed phenomenal pace, but she had missed a kick slightly, and she had shown massive pace, and it took a toll over 525. What would it do over 550 if she happened to be drawn in 4 in the Derby heat? So, yeah, look at. I think the three of them probably. Ballymac Miranda's probably entitled to Ballymac Art has Derby heats won, hasn't she?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I mean, they're all entitled to take a go at it. It's a completely different kettle of fish. I would like the winner and the third as possible Derby contenders. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. There's not an awful lot more we can talk about the Oaks in a sense where it's there, it's done. We've spoken ad nauseum about how good these bitches have been over the last few weeks, and I just like to say it's a sort of satisfying end to the yokes. Okay, obviously there's heartache for the connections of Scooby Duchess and Droopy's next one, both who ran their heart out. But I think we got a satisfying result. And sometimes you want to look at these competitions to have a satisfying winner where you can look back and go, yeah, it was a feel good situation there, and there was no, while you say there was unlucky losers in the race, they all ran their race. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's out in front, and it was Raha Mofo that came and stole it rather than Scooby Duchess lost it.
It was almost a perfect race in many ways, because in any final, all 6 of them aren't going to have a chance to win, really and truly, with the way the race develops. So you have a bitch, Scooby Duchess, who ran her absolute heart out, tracked beautifully, did everything you could possibly ask. If you're connections of Scooby Duchess, you can be satisfied. You'd be frustrated because you got picked up, but you can be satisfied. You've done everything, and she's done everything, and absolutely nothing has been left at home. She did the whole lot. Raha Mofo was in superb form, came there as a bitch who was developing through the competition, and had to be at her very best in the final. Connections can be absolutely thrilled with themselves how she's done it. And then you're going to have a bitch, then like you have Droopy next one, who she mightn't have been an unlucky loser, right? But she'd have been closer, right? If things had gone right. But when two bitches are in front of you and run and doing absolutely everything right, you're going to need more than luck. You're going to need something ridiculous. Ian, satisfying is a great word for it, because it was a great competition, and that was just a brilliant, brilliant final. As a one-off race, it was brilliant, but it was just capped what was very, very good, really particularly good all through the competition. So, I mean, it's a brilliant end to the Oaks. It really is a brilliant, brilliant end.
Declan, it reminds me of Droopy's Twirls Oaks. Where she came from out of the clouds to pick up the muzzle top bitch on the line. There was no doubting the ability of the winner, the ability of the second, but it's one that you remember. And this isn't an Oaks where in a few years' time you go, oh yeah, Raha Mofo, you remember that one winning the Oaks. No, you'll always remember this race.
Yeah, and if you look at it, the last few winners were JT Jordan's story, was phenomenal itself, both during the competition, on track. Kilmacdonough, Ballymac, Beanie, and Susie Sapphire. And now it's just an incredible competition every year.
It never fails. It never fails to deliver.
And Mort Lahey, you're absolutely right. I mean, every night to read, Mort Lahey has winners in Shelbourne. And he's really gone to a different level now. And what it reminds me of, actually, is Paul Hennessy about 10, 12 years ago. Because all Paul's dogs at that time were Shelbourne dogs.
Yeah.
And Mort now is the same. Now, Dolores Root, all her dogs trial and race at Shelbourne all the time. And that's an advantage they have. When you come to finals, these are certain regulars at the track. They have got a bit of an edge there. And that's in and I say Murt's family, they're all involved. Every night you're there, you see them put dogs in vans and stuff. It's just fantastic. It's fantastic. And he works out of the game. And great to see Mark and Annie having a couple of winners over the weekend as well.
We're going to definitely touch on that in a few moments.
Yeah.
Back to Murt Lahey just for a moment. Do we take anything out of the fact that his 2 to 3 biggest stars over the last few years have all been females? They just seem to have a real touch with the females now there.
You can get a run like that. You see it in horse racing as well. You just certain trainers for a while. It just happens. I wouldn't make anything of that. And of course, going back to Jennifer, they already have a dog for the Derby.
They sure do.
So that might influence their.
And that's the perfect segue, because why don't we move into the Champion 550? Again, congratulations to connections of Raha Mofo, a thoroughly brilliant winner of the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks. It was a wonderful Oaks, we have to say that. But now let's move on, because also in Shelbourne Park on Saturday night was the opening round of the Shelbourne Champion 550. Declan, I sort of referred to it as the Kirby Mark II, because that's the sort of quality that was on show. And from the start, it was just magnificent. The other Kobe is the dog you're referencing, I dare say, with Jennifer O'Donnell. He looks the real deal, but, I wouldn't like to be drawn on his inside if he's in 4 or 5.
Well, actually, Jennifer has another dog for the Derby recent Saturday. I'm just to name escapes me now. He's winning an outside run.
Born Warrior.
Born Warrior. That's
Born
the one.
Warrior, yeah.
He is a serious dog.
He's a brother of the other Kobe.
Yeah, is he? Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, the other Kobe was brilliant. Yeah, Kilgraney Sydney just needed race. Just was short. That match fitness, he just hadn't got it. I'd say you see a different dog next Saturday, because the first 4 qualified. Very good, excellent.
And Murt Lahey with a strong finishing bitch in second.
One
we've spoken about before,
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a phenomenal competition, actually, isn't it? You know,
it's a great competition.
yeah,
Tommy,
yeah.
were you blown away by anything in the competition in particular?
I was just impressed by by a lot of them. I think it's a fantastic one. I thought Marie's Wedding coming from well off the pace to win her heat. Hanover Phantom ran it. I think is it the Galway track record.
Yeah.
Ran a cracking race. Hoodoo Brown missed a kick, switched inside, showed lovely pace up into the bend. That's a dog you've been raving about for a while, or expecting
Yeah.
big things from. Impressed by that. You like that, India?
Oh, he's an absolute monster. Yeah, obviously his size is going to be an issue. I don't think he'll ever be a ping starter, but it wasn't great to see him showing some early dash into the opening corner, doing 29.27 around Shelbourne Park for 550 yards. I think in his previous 5.25 he'd won in around 29.20. Now, granted, he came from about 15 back that night, and it was in monsoon weather, but you know he has he has the most incredible engine, Declan.
Yes, he has. And the longer run to the bend was a huge help to him, you know. Now, what I will say, I just love the dog to bits, but I will say this, there was no early paces in that race, really.
No, correct.
And he wasn't as far behind as he will be some nights. But my
Yeah.
God, he has pace and he has power. He can go inside or outside. It doesn't bother him. If he has to go around, he can go around, you know. He's a serious dog.
We don't want to skip too far into the future, Declan, but you wouldn't mind seeing him in like the Winter Racing Festival in the 600 or something like that.
Oh, he will stay farther. Yeah. But I would say 550 he'll be a serious 550 dog too, for sure he will. Yeah.
Yeah, no question about it. 2 in a row, Tommy, of course, was the Derby favourite for a considerable amount of time this year. He's not quite Derby favourite at the moment, but he's showing that he still has the talent. He's a really top class performer. His strike rate would suggest that.
Yeah, and he had a good draw, and he's been lightly raced this year. I'm not sure what it was that happened last year. Did he miss out in the Juvenile Derby final?
No, the National Puppy Stake.
National Puppy Stake final. Sorry, he was a non-runner, wasn't he? Yeah, he's a dog of serious ability, but that that is a great competition. I swear to God, I had been concentrating on so much else on with English Derbies and Oaks Finds and all that, and I'd be looking through them. Next thing I was going through the card in Shelbourne, I was going, oh my God, look at this, look at the heats of this. It's not that long ago when you wouldn't have got 6 heats for this, I think, if I remember rightly. It's not that long ago when
I'd have to go back and look at it. All I know is produced some really top class performers over the last number of years. It's come under a couple of different guises through the years, and I suppose it probably started Declan a long time ago. It was, I think, Bernard Barry used to sponsor like a winner of 2 competition or a winner of 1, and that has developed into this champion 550, and that's the sort of around the same sort of time slot. So I wonder.
Was it the PJ Fahey one? Was it not at one stage?
It was the ECC Timber. That's right, the ECC Timber.
Yeah,
550 as well. Yeah. No, it's been a wonderful competition, and it just gives these dogs that are coming out of the likes of the Produce Stakes, the Kirby, or even lightlier race dogs that chance to get into Shelbourne Park and dip their toe in their own company rather than straight into Derby class. Although they are straight into Derby class. Like 3 of the top 6 or 8 in the betting were in the 3 of the top 3 or 6. 3 of the top 6 or 8 of the Derby betting were in this competition. You know, the likes of 2 in a row, Magical Cuba, who it didn't happen for the other night. Something else. So I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's probably the other Kobe, actually. But even then,
Jet was unlucky,
Mustang Jet has been prominent as well.
Yeah,
he was prominent on the corner. Just as real quality. We'll touch upon that competition in the coming weeks. We want to mention, you were mentioning it there, Declan, on the undercard. Firstly, Ella Supremo returned to winning ways 1841. There was a good winner of the Consolation Oaks. Ballymac Snazzy showed good early speed. But in terms of a story, there were very few better than that of Roxham Christoph. An absolute superstar in the UK in his youth, looked an absolute world beater. Obviously had what looked like a career-ending injury. He returned. Martin Lanny took him across the water, has nursed him back to health. Martin told me about 3 or 4 months ago, he said, it's only a matter of time before this dog wins a race. He says, I think it's confidence he's lacking rather than the ability. And the other night he got stopped in his tracks once certainly and got held up around the 5th bend, but still has the engine, Declan. It was a magnificent run.
It was, yeah. And it's great to see dogs coming back that were good and they're get injured. And Martin is an absolutely top class trainer. So it was a tough enough little race too, you know. I mean, Burnell Bruiser was in there. Latham didn't get a run. Ballymac Belvolt. It was a strange kind of a race, but definitely being near the outside actually helped him in a way. Tinnock Solis, I thought Tinnock, who was very genuine and a very good runner. I thought she was going to win it for a long time, but certainly he came, as you said, met a lot of trouble. Actually broke well, but then met trouble and came back and won it. Yeah, very good.
Now, before we skip over across the water to the UK, we have to mention the Race of Champions on Friday night, Tommy. Bocco's Budset, showing again Graham Holland is sort of just going, yo ho, I'm still here. I'm still the main man. Bocco's Budset was a decent price, but he showed great early speed after what wasn't one of his flying starts, but got to the front and then took charge. A surprisingly explosive boy went off. Favourite Susie Sapphire didn't get her start and just didn't quite get around that opening corner. Didn't look very happy in company, perhaps, but on the outside, Bocco's Budset flew the lids, or flew, should I say, flew to the front, built up a sizable advantage, and was never really in any danger.
No, but like it is a track for early speed and getting in front. Susie Sapphire, as you said, she didn't fly out. She had a tricky enough draw now, to be fair. She just wasn't able to get a, it's hard to get a length in front of really good dogs. You have Explosive Boy on her inner. Good Cody seemed to miss it a bit, but the winner, and in fairness to Skywalker Barry, a dog we've kind of raved about a lot. He ran his heart out again, popped out maybe level or slightly in front, but just that early pace you were talking about it. I think after the semi-final about Bocco's Budset, just the early dash he showed the previous week. Funnily enough, the sections were the exact same, 4:20, 4:21. Good Cody ran a cracker after missing the kick as well. He's another dog that actually I would have thought, and I suppose maybe the fact that Bocco's Budset was in the race, it might have been a hindrance to Good Cody. I would have thought Good Cody was the more fancied of the two Guilfoyle runners. Would you not?
Well, I suppose Explosive Boy is the track record holder. He's a more consistent trapper than Good Cody. Good Cody is the 1 in 5 trapper, whereas Explosive Boy is a 4 out of 5 trapper. And I suppose that was the situation. It was the fact that he was on the inside. I think I would have probably just favoured Explosive Boy. Good Cody has been a dog of unbelievable ability, and he's won an Irish Sprint Cup. He's won a Kingdom Derby. He was the star, perhaps, of last year's Produce Stakes, which actually went to Explosive Boy, but it's just as inconsistent at boxes has been an issue for him.
Yeah, I just think that at the moment, anyway, what I see from Good Cody, I seem to like more at the moment. And you're right, though, there is a consistency, and he missed it the other night, and then another night he'll pop out like he ran an unbelievable race the previous week. So when he was chasing Susie Sapphire, wasn't it, in the semi-final? So yeah, look, we're arguing about nothing really, because I think that there was a real depth of quality, and it needed something a little bit special, and that was just the early pace of Bocco's Budset. It's funny that, in a race of so much early pace, two of them stood out in the first 25 yards, were nicely clear of the remainder in the first 25 yards. So it was a serious performance, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Graham Box, the owner of Bocco's Budset, a while back, and he said about, he had said to Graham, let's keep your eye out for a Derby dog. And Graham says, well, there's potentially a couple there. They had their little issues. Bocco's Budset was one of them, and I think Bocco's Vieira was another one. Two very talented trackers. So be interesting to see. He's certainly a greyhound, given the profile of recent Derby champions, that could certainly play a big part in the Derby. That 550 run up to the corner of Declan is really going to suit him.
Yeah, it was a strange one. Susie missed it and was in trouble early. I agree. The Skywalker, there were 6 top class greyhounds. I mean, that was worthy of a Derby fan to
yeah, big time. Yeah, absolutely.
It was that good, and to win that and to win it as he won it puts him right in the picture. Yes, absolutely.
Right, we'll move on, because there was a little something happening across the water over the weekend. Ireland went into the semi-finals of the Star Sports TRC English Derby with 4 challengers in the semi-finals, and I'm delighted to say that all 4 have made it through. I'm sure there was some UK performers or UK followers spitting fire over the weekend, but it was a pretty emphatic display by the Irish runners. I thought we were struggling to win it this year, I must say, ahead of the semi-finals. While I don't doubt the ability of the 4 runners, I'm not sure any of them are, where you can go, well, that's going to ping every night. As it happens, neither of them did ping the 2 heat winners, Romeo Magico and Kildare, but they showed just superior early speed to their rivals. Romeo Magico was 4th early, was still 4th, sort of 25 yards, 30 yards into the corner, and all of a sudden found himself up the inside, taking up the running on the opening bend, while Kildare was about 2nd or 3rd to hit the ground, but then just quickened up lovely to go clear. Price's Jet followed him home. I was actually at sort of from halfway My eye was only drawn to Hello Hammond just to see if he could qualify. I saw Latara going by him into the third bend, but Hello Hammond, he's showing an unbelievable pace. He came through to qualify in third, but Kildare held on from Price's Jet and Hello Hammond, while Romeo Magico not trapped to line winner, but first bend to line winner in the opening heat. It was a pretty remarkable display, Declan, given the draw and the fact that the three of them were in together to get all four through. It's pretty unbelievable.
The little voice in the back of my head keeps reminding me we had 4 Irish finalists last year, and it was only a matter of which of the 4 won it. And of course, they finished 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I'd be very careful to be counting chickens prematurely.
I'm not counting them. I'm just glad we have chickens in the race, though.
And also, as you said, to pick out if it is going to be an Irish winner, and that's a big if. If it is, which of them it's going to be, that's another day's work. I just love Price's Jet. I mean, it's just, for a Concord Cullen winner to be overrunning like this in the English Derby is phenomenal. You know what I mean? And runs well every week over all kinds of distances, has huge experience. Kildare is kind of the new kid on the block, a very exciting one, a very, very exciting one. I was very impressed with Romeo Magico. I must agree with you. I had the impression at this level that I had to lead, but that was perhaps for me the best performance. And they all ran so well. It's hard to pick something out. And if I had to pick at this stage, that might be the one. That to me was a career best from Romeo Magico under the circumstances. I thought, yeah.
Of course, we don't have the draw. We're not telling you these secrets and suggest we record this in the morning. The draw won't be made till after 1 o'clock today at the Derby luncheon. Don't get me started on that. Anyway, we're losing it in 2 days of talking about the final because of it.
Yeah.
Tommy Lyons, though, Romeo Magico is the dog we've spoken of plenty this year. There was no question he's a stronger dog this year. We've mentioned that on more than one occasion. And when he does do things, not like he didn't do things 100% right the other night, but when he does get that run into the opening corner, he's a pretty formidable performer.
Now, let's be fair, without trying to knock either of the semi-final winners, they both had beautiful draws. Absolutely couldn't have handpicked them any better than that. Romeo Magico had to have that early pace to beat them. He was flanked by modest enough kind of dogs with in terms of pace to the bend, and did show great determination, did show a lovely injection of pace into the bend, and then once he got around in front, that race was over. It wasn't a very good quality semi-final. Let's be quite honest about it. But then, that's not taken away from him that he can only do what he has to do to go and win a heat. Kildare had a brilliant draw as well. He broke probably as well as he's going to. I know you keep saying there's going to be a ping in him, and maybe there will be, but he probably broke as well as he's going to. If he breaks like that in the final, he's going to be hard to beat.
He'll be in front.
And he'll be in front because there isn't a huge amount of early pace in the final. There really isn't. He's probably, like, if he hadn't won the other night, he hadn't much business in the final because it was a perfect makeup. I know there were good dogs in it. Latoro was out in 5, former track record holder. Current track record holder was out in 6, right? So that was a quality semi-final. But he had a beautiful draw on the inside where there wasn't a huge amount of early pace, that he was going to get every chance he could to get up along the inside and lead. It's quite possible. There aren't that many combinations in terms of how the final can be set out, the trap draw.
Well, we know that Mickey's Barrett is in 5 and Price's Jet is in 6, and then it's just a case of the other 4.
24 other combinations. So it's quite minimal in terms of the number of options, in terms of how the trap draw will work out. Now, to be honest about it, if Romeo Magico is drawn outside Kildare has to be a short price favourite, because Romeo Magico has enough early pace into the bend that he could just impact the runners on the outside, and Kildare could slip away again. You're going to have Hello Hammond in it. Nobody thinks that's going to lead to the bend. You know what I mean? And now strange things have happened in Tulsa.
Savannah Bow is the other one, and no one thinks he leads to the corner either.
Savannah Bow broke well the other day, but didn't have the pace to get up into the bend. In part of what I said, it was not a very hot semi-final. So you're going to have there's a great chance. Now, obviously, I'm not ruling out Price's Jet turning very close, but there's a great chance that Kildare will turn in front of Romeo Magico in Saturday night's final. I mean, it's as Peter Cronin has been knocking on the door for a derby for quite some time, and I think if he's ever going to get an opportunity to win it, this is probably it. We don't know for certain what the draw is. I don't think it can be too bad for him. I really don't. I don't think there is a bad draw for Kildare now, because he has got the early pace to lead around, unless Price's Jet absolutely pings like he did when he did the track record, whatever, 2 weeks ago. So I think a lot of it's set. We know enough about the trap draw without having it in front of us to think that it's probably going to favour Kildare in some way, or else, or what I mean is we're going to be able to make a really strong case for Kildare going around clear. Romeo Magico maybe providing a little bit of a buffer in behind. Now, it's not impossible that Romeo Magico would pick up Kildare. It's not impossible. Kildare isn't very strong at the moment. He's developing, and he might get a bit stronger and whatever else. But I think a lot of it points to Kildare at this stage.
Yeah, Ireland are very short price now, Declan, surely.
Absolutely, and remember, we know the box prices is in, and he's twice done the track record, and he's ideally drawn. So I mean, that's not a bad on your CV.
There has been a stage at this in this Talking Dogs in the Monday slot where myself and Tommy had nearly contemplated calling it the Talking Prices Jet slot, because we seem to have been talking about this dog, Tommy, since the very first episode. I don't know, back in lockdown sometime. Like, he has there been a dog we've discussed more than Prices Jet?
We were talking about him in Ledgers and everything. I don't know what.
Yeah. Ledger, Corncook, Cullens, Derbies, you name it, we've talked about him.
Yeah. Look, if you're you know what you're getting with him in terms of he has incredible pace. God, the pace he showed from the halfway down to the third bend, where he looked like he was going to pick up Kildare the other night. Then he went outside, and then whether it was Kildare drifting a little bit, he switched inside, and he's only beaten half a length. So you could argue all day and all night that he's unlucky. I just think that he edged in a little bit. I know Declan's right, what he has done from the trap. He edged in a little bit the other night. And I just think that maybe he'll have to be a little bit sharper, because Romeo Magico will be going into that bend with pace, and Kildare should be. And looking at the six dogs, I would say there's a good strong chance that Kildare will lead. So now, if Prices Jet turns within 2 lengths, it's over. Prices Jet will pick him up. But I just think the beauty of it is it's nearly as well to not know the trap draw at the moment, and you can formulate a few different ways that it's going to work out. But I think no matter what comes out, whatever comes out later on, I still think I'm going to have to fancy Kildare to win it.
Yeah. Just one or two little things to mention about the remainder. Savannah Bow, of course, is formerly Riverside Bow. So he's bred by the Hollands. Is an unbelievable achievement. He was sold through the Greyhound Trader sales for, I think it was 12,500. They were saying there was a few people much maligned, sort of slagging off, going, well, he's not worth that sort of money. Well, here he is. He was after winning a 550 at Shelbourne Park and 29.50 odd. Guess what? He's worth 12.5 grand. Here he is in the Derby final with a potential to be a superstar stayer in the UK in the future. Mickey's Barrett is out of the other Tessa, who happens to be owned by Jennifer O'Donnell. Also, the other Tessa is by New In Wonder. So bred in the field, bred for the field, but New In Wonder sadly passed away over the last few days. I saw Sharianne O'Donnell, of course, posting about it, and Aoife Dunphy. So it's a fitting tribute to New In Wonder that he has a grandson in the Derby final. But it's very much an Irish affair. Romeo Magico, of course, is British bred, however. David Firmiger, who I don't think anyone would absolutely, they would love to see David having some massive success. Sure, he's been in the game a long time, Declan. He's put some really top class greyhounds on the track over the years, and he remains a very prominent owner. It would be great for him to win the Derby. But of course, the same could be said for all the connections. It's a very strong field in terms of history in greyhound racing.
It is, and it is a shame the trap draw isn't made on the night. Left people 48 hours speculating. It's just, I mean, you can still have a Derby lunch, as we know, and everything can go fine in that, but it is what it is. It's a great final. It's a great final. 6 dogs are all there in merit. There is a lovely story, of course, behind one of the English runners. That's a phenomenal story, and if that comes true, it deserves massive publicity, which it'll get on Twitter, which it will get in certain places, but it won't get in the broad stream media, as in Ireland, I'm afraid. That's the way it's gone. And what a shame the Oaks final wasn't on RTE last Saturday night, as it used to be, and as it should be.
Yeah, I hear. I think, unfortunately, that ship has sailed. There seems to be agenda, perhaps is the word I'd use in there. But we'll touch upon that in other days, because I think we want to finish on a high note. Tommy, it was a great weekend for Greyhound Sport. It'll be another great weekend coming ahead. Hopefully a good one for Irish Greyhound racing with the English Derby coming up. Declan, you'll be watching it from the top floor of Shelbourne Park, no doubt.
Of course, yeah. Well, we've as you say, the 550 now is going to have us enthralled here as well, and that's going to take a bit of winning too. I mean, even if I asked her now who's going to win it, you'd have to think about it.
Well, I can tell you that Barry Call will once again be on duty at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, because I will be in Toaster, celebrating hopefully with a couple of Irish connections. Tommy, will you be able to make it to Toaster?
Toaster? No. I'm afraid I'll be in the Curragh next week. I'm just looking at the prices. Sorry, for the final, and of course without the strap draw, basically you're going 2-1 joint favourites Magico and Kildare, 4-1, 7-2, 4-1 prices yet, 8-1 Hello Hammond, and the two English dogs are the two outsiders, 12-1 and 16-1 available. So
12 and 16. So what's that? 7.5 and 6, 13. They have a 13% chance of winning it.
Yeah, they're not holding out a lot of hope in, as I would say.
No,
it's kind of right. Kildare, you can get 9-4 Kildare, 2-1 best Romeo Magico. I think Kildare should be favourite personally.
If Kildare's drawn in 2 and Romeo Magico's drawn in 3, I think Kildare will start favourite. If Romeo Magico's on the inside of Kildare, I think he'll start favourite. But yeah, either way, I think it's a toss of a coin as regards favouritism. But good race to look forward to, and the very best of luck to all 6 connections, of course, especially our Irish friends. But no, listen, the very best of luck to all. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always.
Great stuff.
We get to look back, reflect on the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks decider, a great final won by the wonderful Raha Mofo. We look forward to seeing her in action again in the very near future. Again, congratulations to Marissa Malloy and to Mert Lahey and all the team down in his County Kilkenny base. Of course, congratulations to Bocco's Buds, to Graham Holland and to Graham Box Bev Lockheed. They have a real exciting one there. Best of luck to everybody taking part in the Champion 550 and of course the English Derby at the weekend. But that's it from us this morning. Again, my thanks to Declan O'Donoghue. Declan, don't leave it so long next time. We'll talk to you again very shortly.
Cheers.
The Exile Dub hopefully will be in flying form next Monday morning as I continue to nurse a hangover from Saturday night. A hangover at my age lasts about 4 days, Tommy, so be gentle on me. But that's it from us this morning. Best of luck. We'll see you next time.